It is the light of my own soul. It is the light that I came with. It is the light that changes everything around me.
Thank you for joining in with us. Previously, Monica mentioned that next week is the fifth Wednesday of the month. I'd like to tell you who our fifth Wednesday favorite will be. In December of 2022, we featured Solara Anra. You might remember that she is the author of The Pleiadian Emissary to Gaia. She is a South African-born channel who works primarily with the star councils of light. And she'll be right here with us next week on our favorite Fifth Wednesday program. Now I'd like to go to some Q&A, and we want to do the same thing that we've done in the last few weeks. We're going to share Kryon's answers to some questions that Monica asked when writing her subject-driven books. Monica is very good at asking Kryon questions, perhaps the best.
So here are some questions that I asked Kryon because I'm so curious about how we work as humans trying to discover more about ourselves and who we are and who is God and how does it all work. And I asked these questions when I was writing my second book, The Human Akash. So here we go. Dear Kryon, can you explain the difference between the following two humans? The first human awakens spiritually. Let's call him Human A, since A stands for awakened. Human A finds the divinity within and understands the circle of life. Human A practices mastery in his daily life, and he expresses love and compassion to others. The second human does not awaken spiritually. Let's call him Human B, since B stands for basic emotions. Human B proclaims to be a non-believer. Human B lives by his own moral codes, and his daily life is filled with expressing love and compassion to others. Both humans show love and compassion to others, but one is awakened and aware of the Creator within, and the other is not. Is there a difference between how much they raise the vibration of the planet? What is the difference between these two individuals regarding their next expression of life?
So what I'm going to do now is give Kryon's answer, and so the words I'll be using are from Kryon. Delightful. What a wonderful question, for it will show a principle that is hiding and seldom asked. Both humans are practicing compassionate action in their lives. But did you ever think, where did Human B get the idea to express love and balance in his life? Where did that actually come from? The answer is that is indeed from his Akash, and he had awakened to the principle of balance before. So he had awakened in his Akash before. Now note, maturity and balance do not occur in a vacuum. They are experienced and they're learned. But typically, his Akash also carried the seed fear of spirituality. Now, we've talked about that seed fear before. Now, here's a human who never has to go any further than being nice to accomplish his sense of balance on the planet. If Human B does not wish to listen to this message, he doesn't need to. But a past shaman could still have been in his Akash. But now let's look at Human A. The awakened human has something more than just compassionate action. Human A is actively pursuing the connection with his higher self through the portal in his pineal. The result, Human A is in touch with the soup, that soup of God. That's the creative source, and is working with the grids, the time capsules, and everything else that is part of what you're studying here. Human A, therefore, can be updated through the connection. The human A can raise his own vibration. Human B cannot. Human B is running on battery power from a stored source and is static. Human A, the awakened one, is connected to the main source and is dynamic. However, they are both raising the vibration of the planet in their own way.
I loved that answer from Kryon because it really helped me understand how an awakened human has so much more impact and influence on the planet because of that direct connection to the Creator. But kindness and love and compassion still matters regardless of whether you have an active connection or not. So let's go to another question that I asked Kryon, and here it is. Dear Kryon, there are many people who channel and say the information is coming from an entity or a group or an entourage. Often, I feel that the entity is actually their own higher self, but the individual feels more comfortable to say it is something else. Can you please explain the difference between channeling your higher self and channeling an entourage such as Kryon or Gaia?
Okay, this is a good one, and many people have asked that same thing. So here is the answer from Kryon. Answer: all channeling comes through the higher self portal, all of it. Therefore, it's often a challenge to discern if a person is receiving messages from their own higher self or from another source through their higher self. Indeed, sometimes the higher self will give a name that is a soul name, even though it's the higher self of the individual who's channeling. Talk about confusing. For instance, my partner's first spiritual communication came from a man named Frank Alper, who claimed he channeled his own higher self. My partner celebrates Frank, for these energies led him to me. This is Kryon talking about me, of course. But how do you know who is who? The answer may surprise you, for it isn't really necessary to know. Now think for a moment. If the messages are profound, loving, and true, is it really necessary to know the minutiae of what part of God is giving them? When you stand at the magnificent ocean with the pounding waves in your ears and the mist gently blowing against your face, and can you picture this? It's an enthralling experience. You're in love with the ocean. Many put your arms out and you receive the beauty and the majesty of the surf and the life that's in the water. You swoon at the moment when that ocean speaks to you and welcomes you as a part of everything that is. Then, do you stop and say, stop everything, excuse me, exactly what molecule of water is talking to me? I won't feel anything special until you identify yourself. You don't do that. I think you understand God is this way. And the messages coming from the other side are from one magnificent source. If you feel you're in touch with a source, then it's not that important to put it in a box, give it an identity, and ask who it is. I've even told you that Kryon is a group. Go figure. I've also told you that this Kryon group changes each time I speak to you. So who am I? Does it matter? This is Kryon speaking. Does it matter? Some are consumed with fear, thinking that messages from beyond have the potential of being evil, or perhaps the channeling human is somehow possessed. I say this to that person. This is Kryon speaking. The human being is designed to see God. That's the design. You're not too dense to recognize God from non-God. Honest. Can't you open your heart and discern beauty from blackness? Do you doubt yourself so much that you feel that an unsophisticated dark energy could ever pose for years and years as the love of God and nobody could tell? It's time for some spiritual logic and some discernment in all of this. Be still and know that you are God. Recognize divinity, since it's part of your own DNA.
Oh, I think we've heard that quote many times. Be still and know that you are God. And I'm still reflecting on the answer from Kryon about the awakened human to the one who is kind and compassionate but not awakened and is kind of static and running on a battery source. So what I'd like to do in this meditation is to deepen and further enhance the connection that we have with the Creator. So I invite you to close your eyes and allow your breathing to go in a slower rhythm, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you begin to relax, let us give the intent to enhance a strong connection to the Creator within. And in this enhancement we are asking for, let us reflect on all the gifts and tools we have now received for the previous 7 channels before the one that is about to come. We are stepping more and more into the God-human part that we are. We are becoming more and more enabled. So let us ask for an enhancement of all the gifts we have received thus far. Let's ask for an enhancement of the tools that we are now using to become a more divine God human. And in this enhancement of the God human we are becoming, let us now joyfully receive the final installment of the next gift or tool that Kryon will identify for us.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Indeed, this is the 8th program of the series of 8, where we specifically and distinctly describe energies that are yours because of the shift. And these energies often are seen as tools, many times as gifts, that are needed for you to go forward in this new energy. We speak of the shift in general, but we identify it specifically as the evolving consciousness of the human being. And that evolvement normally comes in the old soul's life. The ones who have been on the planet a lot, the ones who have been on the planet over and over. We've said this before. The whole idea of incarnations, of past lives, is about, you would say, a school of life on earth. Because you live short lives, instead of you being here for thousands of years and going to different classes and learning and learning and learning, you start over. But each time you come in, dear ones, there is a remembrance in the Akash of the DNA that is held. This Akash is held in several places on the earth. It's an important part of the energy of the planet, your knowledge, what you have learned. And you come back, even as a small infant, even as one in the womb, you come back, you pick up what you've learned, and you continue. So the old soul then is a compendium, it's a combination of all that has been learned at some level, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And here you are in a situation during this shift, ready now to go forward in another evolved state. What we're telling you is that there are tools and there are gifts that you should have that will then enhance this evolutionary energy. Some of these 8 that we have talked about, an 8 which is part of a bigger number, some of these 8 that we have talked about, you already have. And I am aware of that. There will be individuals where this is a review. And even when we get to the circle of 12 and these are handed to you by a bigger you, a self, a higher self, you will say, well, I think I have gone through that. And you have. And then there will be those who listen to this program who have none of them at all. Now, we have told you about this principle before. Not all human beings are alike. You learn at different levels. Many of you have been here far longer than others. There are some here, very special, and you're young. And although you have the attributes of an old soul, you really only have been here a few times. And yet you're still awakening to a bigger truth. That in itself is part of the new energy. A quickening, an awakening of those who have not been here near as long as some of the old souls who are also participating. This new energy is allowing those to awaken who have only been here a few times. I address those. There's a lot here for you to learn and feel. Go slow. But in everything you do, absolutely everything you do, look for love. I want you to look for love. That is the test. Is it correct? Is it not correct? If somebody gives you a list of things you have to do, look for love. Does it feel correct or not? The one I'm going to give you today, some of you have conquered, most of you have not. It is one of the basics, and I've waited till number 8. I would like to, in this channel, give you the attributes of the 8 in ways you've never heard before. You look at a number and it has an energy. We call that numerology. But there are many forms of numerology. There's a lot of formulas within numerology. I have given you some of the basic forms and meanings and energies that come from the ancient Tibetan meanings. But there are many more. So let's talk about the 8, because this is the 8th program. This is the 8th tool and gift. 8 is a very, very special number because there are so many who wish to make it mean other things. The thing that you may not understand is that all the systems are correct. You don't have one that is correct and one that is not, because all of the meanings are somehow interrelated with the others. Now, this is a very multidimensional feeling, rather than having a linearity of one thing being true and everything else being wrong, which humans just love to absorb as their truth. Picture this, the 8. What does it look like? There will be those who go for what it looks like before they want to know about the energy. And that's fine, because it still has a meaning for them. The 8 looks like an hourglass, the passage of time. So some will see the 8 as an indication of the time that is passing and what to do with that time. That's valid. Time is passing. It's a new time. It's a time for you to learn about what the 8 means. There are others who will put the 8 on its side. The 8 then becomes the infinity loop. And they will say, well, 8 means the infinite of time. No beginning, no end. It's always in a circle, and it's infinite. It's a good meaning for the 8. In Tibetan numerology, the 8 stands tall as abundance. But it's abundance of whatever it is you're working with. The abundance of love, the abundance of wisdom, the abundance of experience on the earth that lets you do this very study or makes you want to do this study. So you have a very timeless number that's trying to tell you about the abundance of something. So I will now identify it, so you will understand what this eighth principle is. Here it is, as stated: triumph over worry. You knew this was coming, didn't you? Now, what is worry? There will be those who say, well, you covered this. This is really fear. Kryon, you've covered fear. Worry is not fear. Worry is an action. Fear is not an action. Worry is the human being concentrating on negative things. Very bluntly put, isn't it? It is the human being concentrating on negative things. Now, specifically, and here's where the hourglass comes in of the 8, you worry about what's coming. Very few of you worry about the now because you're in it. And there's nothing to worry about because everything that is happening in the now. So you tend to then worry about what's coming. That has to do with time. What if you could have complete triumph over worry? So there would be not a thought about, what am I going to do when this happens? What is this going to be like? What are they going to say? What's going to happen when this or when that? There are so many things to worry about, aren't there? In fact, I'll bet you, any of you, could make a list right now of what to worry about. Some humans not only make that list, they go through it every day. You know what that does? It changes your chemistry. It changes your chemistry. If you want to concentrate on what might happen to you and worry about everything that could, it changes your chemistry. Not only that, dear ones, I'll give you the big one. When you worry, your body sees you worry and thinks that this is the mode that you're most comfortable in. The body wants to cooperate with your consciousness. When it cooperates with a worrying consciousness, it changes its chemistry to cooperate with the worry. If you're worried about a disease, the disease will come see you. How do you like that one? If you worry about the worst kinds of things that might happen, they are the things that often happen. I would like to give you triumph over worry. I'd like to discuss it even more in the Circle of 12 tonight. But this is a tool, triumph over worry, which will change how your life unfolds. If you're a worrier, dear ones, and you know who you are, it's necessary, this gift, this tool, for you to have triumph over it, victory over it, so it's not the first thing that happens to you when you think of a situation. It becomes the last. And the first is instead a reframing of what's going to happen. Instead of a worry, an affirmation, a positiveness. Even if you must trick yourselves every day for a while, when you catch yourself worrying, instead I affirm the best thing, the most benevolent thing, not the worst thing. It's a tough one. We've waited till the end, perhaps, for the hardest one. But this is why, dear ones, you may, if you wish, give permission for this gift in your life. The end of worry. There'll be those listening to this channel who will not be listening to the Circle of 12, and I tell you right now that if you affirm that you're done with it, your body will hear it, agree, And welcome, everyone, to Healing Wednesdays, the Circle of 12. I'm Lee Carroll.
And I'm Monica Morani.
Well, happy Wednesday, September 20. Here we are again with a heartfelt 90-minute program, just like the others. They're just for you. Every Wednesday, we feature special guests, questions and answers, discussions, meditations, channeling, and some weird stuff. Oh, weird stuff. What that?
Oh.
Again, what is that? Well, if you paid attention to an announcement we made last week, something completely special and brand new is coming to Healing Wednesday. And, well, perhaps some of you are like guessing what it is.
I think if people are seeing what just happened behind us, Lee.
You think so?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think they have an inkling of the special program that's going to be included with the Healing Wednesday membership.
And the reason? Because we want to honor our members with even more and increase your own ability to connect with the magnificence that's you.
For the last 2 weeks, I've been sharing 2 affirmations that I combined together that came from our online course that features affirmations. It's called Manifesting Your Mastery. And as we mentioned last week, we will be presenting a free live stream where we discuss our personal experiences with affirmations. We'll be giving tips on how to create affirmations. We'll be sharing affirmations. And of course, there'll be a meditation and a channel from Kryon. So if you are interested in joining us for the free live stream, watch for an email from us on how you can join. And of course, there will be a replay available as well. So let's begin our evening with some affirmations. And you will see the words on the screen to make it easier for you to participate. And I want to invite all of you to really feel the truth of each and every word. Take a moment to feel into the magnificence of your soul. Here we go. I am always with the Creator. I have divinity in my pocket for the asking. I have the power of the universe at my disposal. I am the Master Lighthouse. Everywhere I go, I am blessed. I am a master of humanity. I am love. I am light.
I'm always with the Creator. I have divinity in my pocket for the asking. I have the power of the universe at my disposal. I am the Master Lighthouse. Everywhere I go, I am blessed. I am a master of humanity. I am love. I am light.
I am always with the Creator. I have divinity in my pocket for the asking. I have the power of the universe at my disposal. I am the Master Lighthouse. Everywhere I go, I am blessed. I am a master of humanity. I am love. I am light.
Thank you again, Monica. I just love the way we begin these programs with the affirmations. And again, we want to let our subscribers know that we will be using the same affirmations for the rest of the month. That's next week.
So right now it's time for some questions, and you can submit your question in the portal, or you can go to cryonmasters.com/questions. Here is the first question for this week, and it comes from Nina. Nina is in Ecuador, and Nina is saying, I appreciate the affirmations and use them daily. However, it seems that they are now including language that feels a bit linear and hierarchical by referencing the Creator more frequently. It feels more like a reference to a traditional thing, being, or God, which Kryon says is not how we need to think of spirit. I used to appreciate language that referred to source, spirit, or creative energy. Can I substitute language I am more comfortable with, like source or creative energy, in the affirmations?
Well, Nina, I'm glad you asked that question. I mean, I really am, because it lets me, Lee, vent a little bit about some of what Well, mostly those who are on shows like this are facing, as teachers, with an ever-increasing public that often objects to just about everything, actually. As metaphysical teachers, we often face a dilemma of social norms. Do we change the words we use, or we don't because of the norms? Well, we have to. And we're seeing an actual change happening within common words. And the last thing we want to do is to make any language offensive to anyone. But it's getting harder. It started a few years ago when people didn't want us to use the word God any longer, since it sounded too much like church. Honestly, they said, can you find something else? At that time, we were thinking of other words to use so it wouldn't turn people off. My good friend and channel Marilyn Harper was facing the identical same thing just about the same time, and I'll never forget her suggestion. Her suggestion was, let's have a new name for God. We'll call it Barbara. Very funny to me. Keeps it personal. At about the same time, we're being super sensitive to call people new social titles that were coming to be used, and the use of old ones that I grew up with were becoming offensive, actually, so we had to be careful. This is probably normal stuff for cultures who are awakening to old names that don't fit them any longer. I understand that. I'm actually very okay with it. I just want to get it right. So, I don't want to offend anybody ever, since our entire thrust is love. We want to love everybody we can. We don't use the wrong language that turns them off. So, God became spirit, creator, creative energy, just like you said, and the creative source. Personally, I like God, since I grew up with it, and it was more personal. By the way, Kryon still uses it, so go figure. So constructing the affirmations we teach is tricky, since we now have to make it for everybody. So there's nobody who's offended by any of it. We try hard. We also know that we have to watch our words, so we often default to creative source for the reasons that I've given. These affirmations in this very program go to many languages, many cultures as well. Now you know a little bit more why that happened. However, you ask if you could substitute your own words in some of the affirmations that you're more comfortable with. Yes, please do. In fact, Monica and I have just finished the final touches on this new affirmation course that she has told you about in this broadcast, where we encourage you to please write your own affirmations and in your own words, so it makes sense. And the course gives you some guidance on the best ways to accomplish it. So, going back to Marilyn's suggestion, why not make up the name of God to something else you want? Let's use Spirit if you want to, more friendly, magnificent name. What could you think of? Barbara is probably not it. Maybe it is. And if you want to say, here it comes. If you want to say God, God doesn't care. Express God and the love of God any way you want for anything in any affirmation. The love is seen and appreciated no matter what the words are. God's not in a vacuum.
I agree with Lee in that the names we choose has to mean something to us. I love that you asked that question, Nina. It really brings up an important point. So whatever you connect with that describes the great creative energy of all that is, that's what you should use. All right, here is a question that was given to Kryon directly, and the answer came from Kryon. But it's often controversial since some of it needs to be interpreted. I'm going to give you the question, and then Lee and I together are going to give you Kryon's answer, and then we'd like to discuss it a bit. So here is the question, and I've managed to get this from the Kryon archives that are there. Dear Kryon, many times I've requested to go to my next step, but I haven't noticed anything. I think of sending light to certain places and I wonder if anything's happening. How can I increase my awareness?
Well, now, this is from Kryon, so it's published, and I'll read it for you. Answer. Kryon says, let me ask you a question. When you take a vitamin, is there some kind of body reaction that tells you it's working? When you eat, does your body then give you a sign that you did well? In both cases, really the answer is no. It's intuitive that you're doing something that's appropriate and correct. Intuitive, meaning you know it is. But there's no immediate feedback that you did it right.
Kryon continues, the actual spiritual reality is that what you're doing is making a difference. Don't decide what you think that should feel like. Don't even get close to deciding how you think it should be measured. What you are doing is helping the planet and yourself in ways that can't be known by the 3D senses that you have. Instead, own the fact that it is working, just like you own the fact that nutrition happens when you eat, or that vitamins increase your health. It is more than faith. You have to make it your reality. So let your awareness be increased from the knowledge that what you're doing is indeed making a difference. Believe it. So that was the quote from Kryon.
Yeah.
And I think, Lee, we have such a humanness that really does want to have measurements.
Absolutely
and feedback.
We do. Yeah, we get these questions all the time. How do I know it's working? You know, and we, even in the affirmations that we are giving and teaching and publishing, it sounds so odd to affirm something that's not happening yet. And then you're saying, is it happening? Is it happening? Yeah. And the answer is always the same from Kryon. First of all, be patient, but you have to affirm it in a way, not just saying the words, you know it's coming.
Yeah. I also feel that when you're in the energy of benevolence and